Did you know that small teams of just 5 programmers could soon capture more economic value than entire industries employing thousands of professionals? While the world fixates on foundation models, the savvy players are quietly building fortunes at the token layer. Miss this shift, and you could be positioning yourself on the wrong side of the biggest wealth transfer since the internet revolution. I'm Evan Goldstein. I'm a licensed professional engineer and a data scientist. I'm building AI Capitalist to talk to the leaders and the thinkers, like you, about navigating this new world of thinking machines. Today, we're diving into a really important question. With AI shaking up how the economy runs, who's going to reap the most benefits? Are the big shot companies that create their own AIs going to cash in, or are everyday people using these AI tools going to come out on top? It reminds me of when the internet first exploded onto the scene back in the 90s. Everyone was asking, will it be these companies laying fiber optic cables who get rich, or is it going to be the people building websites? It turns out it wasn't Cisco or the infrastructure guys who won biggest. It was people like Jeff Bezos and Mark Zuckerberg who built useful services on top of that infrastructure. The irony is that now these are the big players, and we're going to talk about today, are there little guys who could overthrow these big guys? I think we're seeing the same pattern unfold with AI. So give it about 10 years, and AI is going to boot out a good chunk of engineers, say half of them. Hopefully not me, right? And when it comes to therapy, AI is already knocking it out of the park, according to some studies. It's outperforming us in loads of areas. There was one example of a school in Texas where they introduced AI and boom, they're suddenly in the top 1% of student results. It's like what happened with calculators in the 1970s. Do you remember back when schools banned calculators because teachers were worried that kids wouldn't learn math? Now you fast forward to today, and calculators are mandatory learning tools. The same transformation is happening with AI, but it's happening at lightning speed. Now, figuring out where the profit is really going to land from this huge innovation is as big as wondering where to live during the Industrial Revolution. Imagine your great-great-grandparents were deciding whether they should stay on the farm or if they should move to Detroit to work in the auto factories. Now, that one decision would shape generations of family wealth. The AI revolution is presenting us with similar life-changing choices. Should you push your kid to become a doctor if AI might diagnose better than humans in 10 years? Should you invest in NVIDIA or in companies that are going to use AI to transform their own industries? My dream is to set up a company to transform my own industry. So here we go. Now, onto our follow-up question, where are the game-changing AI breakthroughs going to happen? One suggestion is that you could have them happen in the base model. So that's the Bezos and the Zuckerberg we talked about earlier. Those are people running companies like Amazon Web Services or Meta or OpenAI and Claude. Or is it going to happen at the token layer where people are crafting enhancements? So think of this like asking, is it the car manufacturers who will make the big bucks, or is it the people designing cool custom features for those cars? I mean, Henry Ford got rich making Model Ts, but then companies making radios and air conditioning and GPS systems created whole new industries on top of those vehicles, while the auto industry itself struggled. The token layer is all about language being chopped up into smaller parts, and these are called tokens. Meanwhile, the latent layer is where the intelligence exists. This is, in ChatGPT terms, this is like an amorphous mass of undefined intelligence. When you go into ChatGPT and you start typing prompts, you're refining that down, you're making a tool out of it, and you're putting it to work. Imagine you're learning a foreign language. At first, you learn whole phrases like, where's the bathroom? But as you get better, you understand each individual word, and then you can rearrange them to create new sentences that you've never heard before. You're going from phrasebook to fluency. It takes years. That's similar to how tokens work. They're the building blocks that give AI flexibility. These tokens are like atoms of language processing. Each token gets turned into a number or an embedded vector, which is like a mathematical sort of property that the model can then handle. It's when you're a kid learning to read, you didn't memorize entire books. You learned the letters, you sent out the letters, and you learned words and then sentences. So AI is doing something similar with tokens, just like how you can recognize the word cat, whether it's written with crayon or cursive or Comic Sans AI. AI can learn to recognize patterns regardless of exactly how they're presented. Then there's the latent layer, the under the hood stuff where the tokens transform into complex context-rich representations. what we'll call the latent space. This is where the model's magic unfolds, a kind of mathematical space, highlighting language patterns and relationships. Similar ideas end up clustered together here in a meaningful way. It's a bit like how our brain organizes memories. When I say beach, your mind doesn't just think of the word, it activates connected concepts like sand, waves, sunscreen, and maybe that family vacation to Florida when you were 10. The latent space in AI works similarly. It creates webs of related concepts that help it understand context and meaning. So what is going to push us into the realm of super smart AI? If you've been keeping up with the buzz, especially regarding OpenAI's 4.5 model, you might have heard that it's not as groundbreaking as people expected. People thought it would take a giant leap forward, but nope, not doing the magic trick that it used to. It's like how athletes hit plateaus in their training. A beginning runner might drop minutes off his mile time in the first few months of training, but an elite marathoner might train for years just to shave a few seconds. AI seems to be hitting similar diminishing returns with pre-training. So OpenAI's 4.5 model gobbled up around 10 times more data than GPT-4, but surprisingly, it wasn't a game changer. It seems like pre-training hit the wall, and there's a hunch as to why. Another snag that we're hitting is the shortage of fresh information to train these models. Think of it as peak oil, but the crisis is for data. We're running low on the new data that we need to feed our AI models. Imagine you're trying to learn English by reading books, but you've already read every book in your town's library. Reading the same books again and again isn't going to teach you anything more. That's what's happening with AI. It's already consumed most of the high-quality text on the internet, and there's a finite amount of Shakespeare, Einstein's papers, and Python documentation out there. AI is going to keep getting sharper, but you can expect it to be uneven. There'll be specialists in certain areas, like some models really good at coding or spitting out their own pretend data, their own synthetic data to get better. But I wouldn't expect any major breakthroughs in the skills that they already do well. The way that modern chess engines improved. In the early days, programmers taught computers the general chess principles. But after a certain point, the big gains came from specialized techniques like endgame table bases that perfectly solve specific situations. Today's AI improvement might look similar, getting really good at specific tasks rather than generally smarter across all domains. One major shift we haven't seen yet is AI becoming truly independent. Right now, they're just not out there doing tasks for us on their own. When that day comes, it'll be a game changer. Here's my 2 cents. The real advancements that we're going to see are going to be at the token layer, not down in the gritty base layers of the actual AI itself. Yes, Sam Altman and Bezos, they're still going to be billionaires, but the real innovation is going to happen in how this technology is applied. That's where the real profit's going to be. Some might disagree, and that's a hot take in the AI world, but I believe that the outer layers are going to tackle our key challenges. This is similar to how smartphones evolved. The biggest innovations weren't faster processors, although those helped. It was the apps that developers built on top of the phone's operating system. The iPhone hardware and the iOS were impressive, but it was apps like Uber and Instagram and mobile banking that transformed how we live our lives. Let's say we wanted to make an AI mechanical engineer to replace me. You might assume that the focus should be on more sophisticated core training, and lots of people are still stuck on that mindset, optimizing post-training data, trying to get the language models to get just the right answer from the right prompt. Now, I've made a video on how to break an AI, basically, how to ask it questions that it can't answer. And so the attitude is maybe we could just create an AI that could finally answer these questions with more training. And it seems logical, but now what it does is it locks you into a way of doing things and it limits your flexibility. You only get one shot with the model to get it right, to get the right answer out of it. It's like the difference between teaching someone to follow a cookbook exactly versus teaching them the principles behind cooking. If you just memorize recipes, you're stuck when you don't have the exact ingredients listed. But if you understand how flavors work, what a binder is, you can improvise and you can create something delicious with whatever's inside of your fridge. From a business angle, sticking with just one model is kind of a dead end. As OpenAI and others like Claude or Grok evolve their models, any custom tweaks that you make might not be compatible with future versions. Your stuff could become outdated very fast. And the trick is to aim for flexibility, to build systems that let you switch out models without a hassle. You need something that allows different pieces to fit together easily. Think about what happened with web browsers. Companies that built websites specifically for Internet Explorer found themselves scrambling when Chrome became dominant. Does anybody remember Netflix besides me, or they all died of old age? I don't know. But those who followed universal web standards could easily adapt. The same principle applies here. Businesses need to build AI solutions that aren't tied to just one provider's ecosystem. Now here's the real issue. Trying to make your AI engineers smart straight from the get-go at the deepest level is not the way to go about it. So let me break it down for you. Making a replacement me as a mechanical engineer out of AI, the problem isn't really the inability to search through building codes or to create a drawing. The problem is that the AI, sometimes it just makes stuff up. Major goofs that can wreck a project. Imagine if it picked the wrong material like bubblegum for support beams, and bam, disaster. AI can be quick and brilliant, but it can also be confidently wrong in ways that humans rarely are. Now, let's suppose that you've whipped up an engineering-focused AI using tools like Grok and Perplexity. It might outshine half of the engineers out there, but it's going to mess up big time if you just blindly trust it. So how do you dodge those errors, those disasters? Now that's where the token layer comes in. It's like how commercial airlines operate. We don't rely on one really good pilot. We have a captain, first officer, air traffic control, automated systems, and a co-pilot all working together. Each provides checks and balances on the others. Now that redundancy is why air travel is incredibly safe despite its complexity and despite a few recent news stories you may have seen. Now here's a game plan for building smarter AI engineers. First off, let your main AI do its thing. It could chat with the client, dig into legal questions, crunch numbers, draft the blueprint. Then you bring in a team of AI assistants like OpenAI, Claude, Grok, whatever works. You're not retraining them. You're just using them in a different way. Think of it like getting a second opinion whenever facing a major medical decision. If one doctor recommends surgery, you're going to consult another doctor to verify that advice. With AI engineering, we're essentially creating a panel of virtual experts who can review and who can critique the other's work. These backup AIs then double-check the main AI's work, and they call out some of the blunders, the wrong math, weird choices, or weird designs. It's like having a team of expert review an engineer's work. You recruit the top people to guarantee it's spot on. And when slicker models come up, you plug them into the mix, swap them out. This is exactly how quality control works in manufacturing. Toyota famously implemented a system where any worker could stop the production line if they spotted a defect. Likewise, our team of AIs can flag issues in an AI engineer's work before those issues become real-world problem. Now this repeats in a loop. Feedback from the reviewers goes back into tweaking the first draft until it's perfect. That's how you create an ace AI engineer. All of it's happening at the token layer. It's like how good writing emerges through revision. Hemingway famously said that the first draft of anything is garbage. Even the best authors rely on editors and beta readers and multiple revisions. When I was a new engineer, I didn't know jack, and I would draw out my drawings and people would just laugh at them, but that's how you learn. AI needs the same process, multiple passes and perspectives to refine initial ideas into something solid. But what this does is it shakes the grip that big AI companies have because it empowers outsiders to build value-packed systems. Base model providers turn into commodity suppliers, basic service backbones, more like web hosts. People won't stick to brands, they're going to chase performance and value, and they're going to swap out between different providers. And that should be pretty simple as long as you're working with the token layer. Now this shift is like what happened with personal computers. IBM dominated the market at first, but once their architecture became standardized, companies like Dell, HP, and others were able to build compatible machines. Power shifted from the originators to those who could best implement and customize the technology and provide the best value. And if you're getting value from this episode, I'd appreciate it if you'd push the like button. Pressing like lets me know that I'm making content that you want to see, and it spreads that value to others. Thank you for supporting AI Capitalist. So this setup means that the people tinkering at the token layer can get all the benefits, or most of them at least. They can move faster, they can dodge slowdowns, and they can swap in new models when they feel like. Say I run an AI engineering company. I've nailed a system that delivers designs and material picks that are both high quality and low risk. And I can offer my services way cheaper than the old school engineers, maybe 25, 10%, even 2% of the cost. And still I can capture a big slice of the pie. And if I want to grow, I don't have to open a new office. I don't have to do an employee search. I just copy paste and make more AIs, more agents running around, running my designs. Think about how Netflix disrupted Blockbuster. Netflix didn't invent movies or even the DVD technology. They just built a better system on top of existing infrastructure. So it's not the foundational model creators who are going to win big. It's going to be those who build the most useful services, like the models. So who's the big loser in this entire setup? The government. It's not good news for the tax system. We've already got a demographic situation that's straining tax revenue with the population collapse and all the boomers retiring and not enough people to replace them. Some people think, oh, we'll just crank up taxes. But now with an AI system where I can just copy paste engineers, I don't have to be sitting in the office managing them. I could be sitting anywhere managing them. I've got more flexibility with my newfound wealth and compared to the AI companies themselves. I don't need big semiconductor setups or tons of infrastructure to rake in the value. Those semiconductor farms are churning out a standard product, a commodity. It's in high demand, but it's becoming more about efficiency. It's similar to how the digital economy challenged traditional taxation. When factories produced specific physical goods in specific locations, they were easy to tax. But how do you effectively tax a programmer in Bali who creates an AI system that's used globally? This was covered in The Sovereign Individual back 25 years ago, or whenever that book came out in the 90s. The governments view their people as cows on the field. At least the productive people are cows on the field, where they can feed them, they give them the pastures, and then they take all the milk. What happens when the cows grow wings? This dispersion of value creates, or it makes traditional tax systems ineffective, just as we've seen with digital nomads and online businesses. The real action, the value, is shifting to the application layer, the token layer. That's where you solve the actual problems that people care about, like preventing an AI engineer from designing a bridge out of bubblegum. So the smart play, AI capitalist play, isn't just optimizing the core AI, it's building systems around it. Use multiple AIs, OpenAI, Claude, Grok, Llama, whatever's best today, to check each other's work. It's like having a built-in QA team, a panel of experts constantly reviewing and correcting. That's how you get reliable, high-value output, like an AI engineer, or that you can actually trust. It's not about blindly trusting one black box. It's about orchestrating multiple boxes to mitigate risk and amplify utility. And it flips the power dynamic. The base model providers become commodified like utilities. You swap them out based on performance and price. So what does the end game look like? Are we headed for a decentralized techno renaissance powered by nimble innovators? Or are we just creating a new hyper-efficient oligarchy of AI app builders who leave everyone else, including the tax man, in the dust? After all, Bezos and Musk and Zuckerberg started out as these innovators, and now they're just utility providers for artificial intelligence. Let me know what you think below.